One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is Brian Sisson. Brian is the Director of Athletics at St. Mary's University of Minnesota. Greetings, Brian. Thanks for joining us today.
Ty, thanks. Again, really appreciate the opportunity. Grateful for what you and others through Athletic Director U and One Question do for our industry. Platform really allows for, what I think is the best part of athletic administration is just so much idea sharing and helping others. And, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. So thank you very much for having me.
Well, we appreciate that, Brian. Now, you've been in college athletics for 11 or 12 years. You started there at St. Mary's University of Minnesota in October. Prior to, you were Associate Athletic Director and Director of External Relations at Lewis. And you've done some things in external relations throughout your career. Now, one thing you did when you got there at St. Mary's, which I thought was interesting, is you took a road trip to visit all the other athletic directors in the Minnesota Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. Thinking about that trip, Minnesota is not a small state, and that had to be an adventure to go visit everybody in the conference. What was your purpose on taking the trip? And then from the trip, what information or ideas did you return with that may be implemented at St. Mary's of Minnesota, either now or in the near future?
Yeah, sure, Ty. Great question. As you mentioned, again, just started just over 2 months ago. Fantastic opportunity, great experience thus far. Really, before taking the position, had really only been to the state of Minnesota twice. One time with my wife's side of the family, visiting a family member, and then actually another time just with my brothers, seeing Minneapolis, for the first time. So thank goodness, for Google Maps and helping me kind of get throughout the state. But really, I felt if I ever had the fortunate opportunity to be an athletic director, really just felt that it was so important to just get to know those in your league. And, again, right, we don't have the budgets of a Notre Dame or a USC or something like that. And there'd probably be a lot more airfare and things like that and travel to do this. But I felt just it was really important. And, I was strategic about it. It was spread over 4 days. And, again, we're fortunate that, and usually in the Division III model, more regionalized and close proximity. We are a bus league, not a lot of overnight trips, but really for the majority of our schools, they're all within 2.5 to 3 hours. We're kind of an outlier on the southeast corner of Minnesota, and then Concordia in our conference is kind of that northwest area. So that was kind of the longest trip, about 5.5, 6 hours. But really, I think first and foremost, it was about just connecting with the athletic directors, building those relationships, really grateful for all their time and insight. Made that first AD meeting within the league, a couple weeks back, just a lot easier having, seen pretty much everyone before that. They knew who I was, I knew who they were. So I think it's just made for a cleaner start and just really good insight, into our league. And, again, everyone is extremely helpful. I probably met anywhere from about a little over an hour to 2 hours, for each trip. The questions range from, support staff structure to, what do you do for strength and conditioning, athletic training model, different fundraising activities, your facility, plan and what you have as far as facilities, branding, just a lot of different things. Just, hey, we all have our own goods, bads, and struggles, and this is just a good way to just kind of get to know, the campus culture, the campus makeup of these institutions, and then again, the positives, negatives, challenges. We're all kind of in our own unique, area and setup and stuff like that, and I thought it was really, insightful and good for me, starting here in not only a new state, a new community, and just a lot of newness, for me. And then kind of the second part of that, Ty, you were saying just, how do you kind of implement things back at St. Mary's? I think with me, just, learning a lot with branding opportunities and ideas and things that came up from visiting other places or facilities or, a lot of it too is just seeing what's out there. And I think so often, and it was funny, our first staff meeting last month, kind of brought this stuff up to our coaches and staff, and every institution, okay, goods and bads, and you compare yourself against, the people in your league and regionally and nationally and things like that. But a lot of times, I think both from you're so focused on your institution, and rightfully so, but I think to just open your eyes and see what else is out there. And, knowing that, hey, just because I see that doesn't mean all of a sudden we're going to get a hero overnight, or something like that. That's not the idea. But I think with a lot of our coaches, a lot of times they're traveling, they get off the bus, they go to their locker room and then to the place of competition, and that's it. They don't get to see everything else of the campus and stuff. So I think that was kind of good to show them and just say, hey, this is things that I see and I think that are important. And I think, to relay to my boss and our president and things like that, just to know, hey, this is what's out there. I think it was just a good overall learning experience.
What did you bring back pictures and was it a presentation you gave to the coaches or president, or just
I just kind of covered some different things. Yeah, I think just some branding things, facilities, just layout of different things. The visual stuff I think was important to show to individuals. With regards to the other things, just kind of, hey, just little notes I made and stuff like that. And now, building those relationships has been great. Is, hey, I send an email out to, one of the ADs in our league or make a phone call and stuff. And, hey, I really like what you did here. How does this work or this or that? And just exchanging ideas and stuff like that. So that's just been really helpful.
Well, I'd like to take that one step further. This is your first time as an athletic director. Were some of the conversations about how you lead, how do you deal with these challenges, about these kind of, the intangible things that you'll have to deal with in a leadership role?
Without a doubt. I mean, I played, or I had high importance on the list of questions to ask. Really, some of it was just, hey, tell me about our league. The MIAC, which is a fantastic league, one of the best, in all of Division III, very competitive league across the board. But yeah, a lot of those questions were just recommendations for being in the chair, and I also wanted the honest opinion, and I think people were great with just, hey, what are your thoughts just on St. Mary's? A lot of these ADs have been here for, years and some, more than that, and they have a perception and things like that. So again, everyone gracious with their time. And again, right, for me too, wanting to kind of hit the ground running.
Right. And I'd imagine some of those relationships you'll probably lean on when it comes to making tough decisions that may go against the core values you've established for yourself in the department. It's always good to have relations, especially people who are in a similar conference who may be dealing with similar situations that you'll probably deal with.
Correct. I feel I have a valuable network of mentors that I can reach on, and whether that's athletic directors or not athletic directors. But at the same time, again, right, just being new to this league, new to this state. And again, I'm from Chicagoland, so it wasn't, an airplane away, so to speak, but it is a lot of newness, just any time you go out of state and stuff like that, new community. So I think, yeah, having that, again, direct tie to our ADs and then just being able to reach out, kind of made that connection with our commissioner, of our league as well and stuff like that. And he's been great in his staff. So just little things like that, like you said, someone to be able to bounce ideas off of and, different ways that they do things. So it's been helpful.
Well, thinking about your background, of course, you worked in external relations. You've had some success in development in college athletics. There are probably a wide number of people to meet there at St. Mary's in terms of alumni, people in the community, donors, and that takes time to do. But you've had some success in development, so you know how that works, especially at schools, at smaller schools, right? We'll call it. What is your short-term strategy? I think you've already started doing some things there. In intermediate term and in long-term strategy for fundraising while you're at St. Mary's.
Yeah, sure. Again, Ty, another great question. And like you said, with my background, again, obviously administrative components to that. But I started with that external set from tickets, marketing, corporate, things like that, and more into the advancement role and administrative. So, for me, to be honest, short term, myself, getting to know our alumni and really those who are in athletic partnerships with us, things like that. So corporate wise, that's going to be more, right where our undergrad campus is for the most part. Not saying that obviously, different expansion with the multiple campuses, but for the most part, right where we are day to day is going to be that Winona campus. And then kind of just moving into midterm, long-term goals on the external side of things, I think, really establishing that true annual fund, right? What does that look like for St. Mary's? I'd love to build that signature athletic fundraising event. I say this all the time, and I got this from a mentor of mine at University of Indianapolis, Matt Donovan, who does an incredible job, has built one of the best external shops around, and I would say a small school, if you want to say that. But basically the idea that, hey, Rome, wasn't built in a day, and he's not the only one who's, he didn't come up with that, but just it's a good saying. And I think just important to know that, hey, it's one step at a time. I think how do you build that kind of consistent giving culture? And for me, hey, from my background, I want to get out on the road, right? So I've been fortunate enough to go to some fundraising events within Minnesota surrounding area. We had a big fundraising event a couple weeks into the job in downtown Chicago. We have a good connection or a good bridge of alumni who live in Chicagoland area. It was a lot. It still is, but it's always been a high number of percentage. And again, part of that is we're only 4.5 hours from Chicago, so that makes a lot of sense. And then for me, obviously my background, I think just getting out and establishing those relationships. I want to be involved, right? Work in lockstep with university advancement. That's where I feel, in my experience, has had the most success, right? It's got to be a partnership. For our institution and most small schools, I don't have the team of 10 people. So I obviously need to be that figurehead and be out and meet with people. But at the same time, how do we work with advancement to together, do what's best for the university and then for athletics? So, telling our story, and again, just think that's just my personal nature. Love just meeting with other people, hearing their stories, and kind of building those relationships. And then I know long-winded, Ty, but then kind of going into the long term, from there it's really, hey, success in carrying out our, kind of master, facilities plan, and with our president here soon to roll out a strategic plan, which I get a sense that athletics is going to be a big part of that. And, how does that play in? And, what can we do to accomplish those goals from a facility side, or branding, or staffing, operational, just different areas within athletics. And I think that giving culture, you build that, and then that can turn into that differentiating gift, right? We're fortunate enough, and I walked into a situation, we're about to open up a baseball clubhouse next month. It'll be a state-of-the-art, probably one of the nicest, if not nicest, in all of Division III, and a lot better than probably some D1 and D2 institutions. And, that's the kind of impact and lasting impact, that differentiating moment that obviously every athletic department hopes they have, more of those down the road.
Right. And of course, you mentioned that relationship with advancement on campus. That'll be real important for trying to create an annual fund and an annual event that ties to that fund. It sounds like you have some plans to do. You got some work to do there, but I'm sure they're excited to have you there on campus.
The biggest thing that's kind of stood out is, and what, I think I've been told for going into this and taking this role, is just the people, and the culture. They're all on the same page. It's a college town, campus community. For me, always kind of been in that private higher ed, and that just speaks to, I think, who I am, and being a former student athlete at a private institution. Again, it was just a real natural fit for me, and everyone's just been great in kind of that transition role. And yeah, it's just been, a really good, first 2 months, and we're eager to keep moving St. Mary's forward.
Well, Brian, I think you'll have some success. You sound like you have a lot of things thought out, or you'll figure it out if it isn't thought out at the current moment. This has been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
Ty, thanks very much, and look forward to connecting with you in the future. Thanks for the opportunity.
That was Brian Sisson. He is the Director of Athletics at St. Mary's University of Minnesota. And of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.